After a whole bunch of speculation, it seems like today David Zaslav is finally telling us what they're going to do with the DC Universe. Maybe. Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix. My name is Chris Wong. So today, Warner Bros. Discovery had an earnings call, and on that call, Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav came on to talk about Warner Bros. Discovery, HBO Max, and the DC Universe. Now, a lot of that streaming call was basically all business talk, revenue, and how many subscribers and things like that. But one of the most intriguing aspects was that HBO Max and Discovery Plus is going to combine, and it's going to be available worldwide. But being a DC fan, I'm really curious about the DC part of this whole deal. And it's interesting to see this slide where they do show the divisions and the studios that they are building. And one of those studios apparently is DC, which may be our very first indicator that it is going to be DC Studios. DC is going to have their own studio, and they're going to have their own team. In fact, one of the first questions that was asked is involving DC Universe. After the whole Batgirl ordeal, everyone is pretty curious. What are they going to do with the DC Universe? This is what David Zaslav had said. You look at Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. These are our brands that are known everywhere in the world, Zaslav said. And the ability to drive those all over the world with great story is a big opportunity for us. We have done a reset. We've restructured the business. We're going to focus where there will be a team with a 10-year plan focusing just on DC. A 10-year plan! You know, this is great and fantastic because this is probably maybe one of the first times in many years where someone actually had a plan. And it is long term. Now, people are bringing up this whole reset thing. I don't think that actually has to do with the actual material. What he is saying is that we've already done a reset. We've restructured the business, meaning no more Toby Emmerich. And probably no more Hamada either. The old regime is gone. This is a new regime, and they are planning a 10-year investment into the DC Universe. With what I think is the very cool thing to have him say Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, pretty much the Justice League in terms of their focus, in terms of what they're trying to bring us on the big screen. Which naturally in this earnings calls, he did say that theatrical is their business. They're aiming to put DC films in theaters. Now, how are they going to structure this new DC universe? Well, he explained that as well. It's very similar to the structure that Alan Horn and Bob Iger put together very effectively with Kevin Feige at Disney. We think that we could build a long-term, much stronger, sustainable growth business out of DC, and as part of that, we're going to focus on quality. Which means that anything and everything DC coming out of Warner Bros. Discovery, it's gotta be good to them. They've gotta really like it. They've gotta know that this is a quality brand. They're not gonna make a quick buck out of it. They're gonna make a lot of money on these things. And I know you're freaking out because it said Kevin Feige at Disney. I don't think this is actually pertaining to how the content is coming out. I don't think that means they're gonna copy it in terms of the comedy and we're gonna have their own Thor Ragnarok version of Superman. No. I think it's the way the DC studios will be structured like Marvel Studios. There's going to be one head overseeing this whole thing and making sure that it all interconnects, that it all makes sense, and that it's good. Every single one that comes out. Well, that's great and dandy, but I want to know which direction they're going to go. Is this going to be a hard reboot, or is it not going to be a hard reboot? What's going on? And the biggest indication of what he probably thinks of the current DCEU, in fact, the current movies that are coming out, is this. When talking about Flash, Shazam, and Black Adam, he says, we are very excited about them. We've seen them. We think they are terrific, and we think we can make them even better. Which honestly to me is actually kind of good news that this may not be the hard reboot that many people are thinking. Because if you do love these movies and you do think these movies are quality enough for them to come out, especially the Flash movie, that means you've already invested in this universe. You're building off of this current foundation, but fixing the old regime's mistakes by taking out movies like Batgirl, Supergirl, or even Wonder Twins. All those post-Flash movies are not going to come out. What's even interesting is that he's saying that it's going to make them better, make these movies better. What does he mean by that? Does that mean there are going to be some reshoots or additional photography to add in certain elements so that it brings it all together? And so he says the objective is to grow the DC brand, to grow the DC characters, but also our job is to protect the DC brand, and that's what we're going to do, said David Zaslav. Now, there's two possible ways I could take away from this whole DC universe. The first one is easy. Restore the Snyderverse, right? For one, the Snyderverse characters are still within these movies. Aquaman 2, The Flash especially, have those characters. And maybe certain cameos of those Snyderverse characters will be in Black Adam or Shazam 2. So if those movies are still coming out and they are fixing it up, adding Ben Affleck into Aquaman 2, well, doesn't that just mean that they have all the faith in the current iteration of this Snyderverse? And because they're canceling all the movies from Toby Emmerich's and Walter Hamada's regime post-Flash, doesn't that mean they'll fix it up so that maybe the ending of The Flash will have Barry Allen traveling back to his own universe that has Henry Cavill as Superman and Ben Affleck as Batman? And I don't know exactly when that 10-year mark will start, but if they were going to build off the foundation of the Flash movie and it's still in the Snyderverse universe, hey, you never know. A few years from after that, Zack Snyder may be done with Netflix, building out his universes over there, and may be ready to work with Warner Bros. Discovery in helping shape a Justice League sequel. Now let's go to the other side of the fandom who thinks this is going to be a huge reset. Now, I can clearly see how that could also happen as well, because all these other movies are already shot, they're already pretty much in post-production at this moment, and they are going to come out because they invested a lot of money in it, that they have no choice but to put it out and then start the reset after the Flash movie, which is kind of like Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, where at the end of the movie, the Flash travels and does another Flashpoint, and there is a new universe spun out of the Flash movie. That could happen as well. So it does very much seem like everything is dependent on what the Flash movie is. How the Flash movie ends will determine what kind of DC universe we're going to get through that 10-year period. But so, you know what? Whatever may be the case, whether they restore the Snyderverse or continue this version of the Snyderverse, or do they do a hard reboot or reset after the Flash movie, there is one thing very clear that David Zaslav wants us to know, is that to him, DC is all about the big leagues. Because in the Global Powerhouse slide, he listed right there and said it himself, the biggest franchises are Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. So whatever happens to what type of DC universe we're going to get, you can bet your butt we're going to get Batman movies. We're going to get Wonder Woman movies. And probably the most important for me is that we're going to get Superman movies. And if everything works well, we're going to get more Justice League movies than you can ever possibly think of. All right, what do you think about this news about a 10-year DC universe plan? Do you think they're going to continue this version of the Snyderverse? Are they going to restore the Snyderverse? Or are they going to do a hard reboot? Share your thoughts in the comments down below.